Tete. I'm a blogger. My question is, powers of this world use media as a tool of foreign policy, as device foreign policy. Accordingly, these countries in the West, when they want to allocate points for democracy and so on, and all these good governance indicators, they use their media to define that. So my question is, we as Africans, one of the ways of standing our ground is to invest in media as not as a liability for us that we have to defend every time, but to invest in it as one tool that we can use to advance our foreign policy and advance our interests. What would be your take on that? Thank you.
Well, my take is I'm glad you have the blog, and I'm happy that maybe we can hire you at some point to do that. But I'm glad even with the weaknesses of our government not probably putting adequate resources in that regard, people are doing it on their own. I think your blog, you are the one who decided to invest in it, to set it up, and also invest in putting ideas there that we can benefit from. So my take is we should, in fact, there may not even be much to invest in that. All you have to invest in is time and making sure that it is the right content you are putting out there. Otherwise, media that the West uses, for them, they have an edge over something else. They have control of it. It's not because they have invested more money as such. It's because the whole setup, the way it came up, they control everything. So, but for us, we need to avail ourselves and be there and use the media that is there to actually define ourselves, define what we are doing and talk about it. And I think we have more opportunity in that regard probably than we are using, we are making good use of. So we need to step up, and maybe the young people here should be active participants in that regard, and government should be more forthcoming and open to explain our different policies, including the foreign policy or other things. Yeah. Somebody can help pick whoever is to ask.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Norbert Haguma, and I'm Vice President of
again?
Norbert Haguma.
Sure.
I'm a Vice President of the Rwandan Diaspora.
Right.
So my comment and question is we talked a lot today about Africans having to choose whether to stay in Africa or to go abroad, and I think maybe that might be a bit of a distraction because I don't think that the immigration in the world is just a phase. I think it will be, as the world gets more connected, people will be moving more and more. And instead of talking about the choice of going or not going, we should instead try to figure out how to help those that are going to achieve better results for our countries and to bring better interaction with the world. And that's one aspect that I think we did not address.
Help me to understand this. What is this thing about the choice of going or not going? I don't.
I think it was before you came, but at one point, the panel, there was a lot of discussions about Africans thinking that it's better to live abroad, and especially Mwenda was saying that you can have a much better career by just staying in Africa. And I was saying that maybe the argument might be wrong. I think that Rwandans living abroad are a huge asset for the country, and the interaction between Rwandans abroad and Rwandans inside Rwanda will actually be much more beneficial for the development of our country in the long term.
For me, it's an open question. I don't think we need to stop anybody going anywhere they want to go. One, especially if going there means something to you, but also to the country as you are putting it. And if it is just going for the sake of going or for wrong reasons, then there is a problem. The second is, why I said we are open to that question. We also welcome people, especially our own, who want to come here. We should make it easy for them, but we even welcome others from outside who want to come to Rwanda. In fact, we make it easy for people to come here. So this is why I was saying I didn't understand the question of going or coming back, because for me it doesn't constitute a major problem, in as far as that is happening for good reasons, isn't it? And I also want to see it as case by case rather than some movement. Some movement of people going out, then a movement of people coming. Here is, I think it is happening freely, isn't it? For as long as it is happening for a good reason, I have no problem with that. I wouldn't, so I'm saying we make it easy for our people to go out, but we make it even easier for them to come back. You see what I mean? And then, but between that, maybe wrong things may happen. Some people may go out for wrong reasons or come back for wrong reasons, but even then, they are still welcome. Right?
My name is Chuzuzo. I just have a curious question. We have heard from the penalty, they all
From what? You heard
Chuzuzo.
from? But you said you have heard from
The penalty.
the panel.
Yeah.
Yes.
They say they believe in many things, yeah?
Yes.
You as Mr. President, I would like to know what you stand for. Thank you.
What do I stand for? For many things. It's the same thing. You remember I said almost people there, they talked of integrity, accountability, and and I think that is well covered. So I also stand for many things, but good things. It have to be good things for. It's good things for us, for the country, for all of us.
Thank you, His Excellency. I'm Ndaize Emmanuel, a pastor from ADEPEL and a member of One Rwanda Toastmasters. You said about transfer of power.
You must be the youngest pastor.
Yes. Actually, I'll be ordained on 31st, 21 to be ordained, so I'm a pastor to be.
Okay.
And I'm the youngest, of course, and I'm the national chaplain. Mm-hmm. So you said about transfer of power and that people are belittling the process to have this peaceful transfer of power.
I think even pastors exercise transfer of power as well. So
yes. And I read an article by Andrew Mwenda when he said about 4 for peaceful transition, and he mentioned even ages, things to consider about demography, about GDP, about many things. And I was interested, and I bought on those ideas. And my comment is that when we lead those kind of things, and when we hear about this good speech about how this process should be well considered, my recommendation is that we should educate people. When we educate people about how this transfer should be in peaceful process without belittling those processes is very important. So as education is key to transform people, I want, in order to not discuss about those things, why it should not be transfer, we can go to education system and teach what it takes so that we may have a
So
peaceful...
we can, yes, education.
And when we educate people, I
Educating
think
the
those
public.
discussion can... and another recommendation, you said about the standard. Here I saw smart young leaders, and we all aspiring to be leaders. But there is a standard, who to represent us. And when we know those standards, people can refer on those standards and measure themselves on those standards. So when we teach about that process, we should also mention the standard, where we want to go, so that people should not be ambitious without reaching that standard.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, but I think it's the same message. The standards are actually in all these things we are talking about. When we have this defined what we stand for, it's really those standards we are talking about. Meaning we are looking for those qualities in our people. They may be broad, they may not really have a specific shape or form, but they are there. At least when we come there, we get to understand them. So you are right. Maybe that is also a good area for pastors. When you are preaching to your people, I think you are trying to give them a good message. How do they, what values, how do they hold themselves in different settings of our society? I think it is part of it. So education is through many channels. You can use many avenues, whether it is religion, it's schools, it's even here in this room, the discussion all day you have had, it's actually, it educates people, isn't it?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to me standing here in front of you. And the lady has already asked my question, but as a Toastmaster from One Rwanda Toastmasters Club, I'm ready for every situation. So I'm just here asking you, just forgive me a sentence which going to motivate me to stand for something.
I want to give you,
Yes, or all of us, because you are the most wise man I ever know in my life.
No, I think I actually gave you many sentences. All along,
Yes, sir.
what I was presenting was...
Yes, sir, you gave us many sentences.
I thought you should have picked at least one or two or three. No, actually, let me turn the question to you. What did you pick from what I said? Tell me which sentence inspired you, or you have picked that.
Yes, sir. Your school was tremendously wonderful, and I'm proud to be here, hearing for it. And what I heard in your speech exactly is what I said before about agaciro. We have to be self-reliant. Thank you, sir.
Very good. At least you picked something.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I have a quick question. My name is Munya Medanarli. I've been traveling in Africa a lot this past year. And two things. First, I discovered how ignorant we are of Africa. I was in Mali and I thought it was a desert and it was all green. So I was very shocked. But
Which part, of course, of Mali?
the airport, of course, and right outside.
Actually, the bigger part is actually desert.
It is in the north.
Yes.
But everywhere I travel, whenever they find out that I'm from Rwanda, of course, the first thing they speak about is yourself. And many ask me the question, when are you going to open Kagame Leadership and Governance Foundation? And then they say, you know, you should...
If you allow me to retire,
that was my next point.
the soonest you can, I will do that.
My next point was, without asking you to retire, is it something that you could start before now? And we will, I think we can commit to assist you in whatever you need to do that.
Thank you. Thank you in advance for that offer. I appreciate it. I think it's not a long shot. We can try it. We can do that. In any case, it's not going to add another burden to the one I already have, because if we are talking about leadership, it will be about what we are already involved in. And in fact, maybe it will also act as a sounding board for some of the things that can be done better or improved or, you know, shared and so on. So it's a good idea. I appreciate it. And I take you on your offer to be part of it. Yes. Are you the one I follow on Twitter? You're the one? Oh, I see the name, but I follow many people here. Except Mwenda, I don't.
Thank you.
But I read what is on his Twitter, but I don't follow him. In the real following sense of the word.
There's somebody on the far right.
Yes.
Thank you, His Excellency. My name is Gratia. I don't have any question for asking you, but it is an opportunity for me to thank you all the effort you did to make us as we are. I am very, very I thank you very much for the effort you did for us.
Thank you.
Somebody raised their hand in the far back.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Tashobia. Well, I think one of the reasons... Tashobia.
Ah, okay.
Yes, Ethan Tashobia. I suppose one of the reasons you joined the army and fought in the bush back in Uganda, then you moved to Rwanda, and with a team of young men and women, is because you had the spirit of nationalism. It's because you loved your country. When I look at the generation of ours, it's very hard to see that strong hunger to fight for the nation, to fight for, to save other people.
Why?
Maybe because of times have changed, of course.
Because there are less problems, I think.
I don't think there are less problems. We've come from the time when we were being colonized, but we are now trying to liberate ourselves into, economically.
I shouldn't mislead you by asking too many questions. Take your time and...
Yeah. taking my question from the theme of the day and what we stand for, what can you tell someone who's actually looking at Africa as something that is, for someone to live in Africa, you'd rather be desperate rather than, someone who is actually looking at the Western world as an opportunity-filled world than, being in Africa or being in Rwanda, to be specific?
Well, first of all, if you have a sense of belonging, of calling something yours, and I call Rwanda mine, as you would, as many other people here want to. First of all, this is not something very small. It's a big thing to feel that you own your own belonging. That's one. Number two, instead of springing from that and relating to others, and you want to discard that and belong somewhere else, I think there's something wrong with that. But you can depart from, you can spring from what is yours and work with others for the better of both sides. I think this is the best choice. This is the best way. So I really don't understand. Going out there should be with a purpose. It's a purpose to improve yourself, to learn from what happens elsewhere, to learn from others, but I think in the end it is for the better. You want you want it for you, for yourself, and you also want it for your place. That's the way I see it, and I don't see any difference with what the thinking should be with all of you, with the young people we have now before us. It's the same case as it was so many years ago when we were also still very young. We could easily have, I'm sure there are people who could have easily said, well, those who were living in any of these countries in the region, some of them they were rich people having their wealth and being well integrated in those societies, and so on and so forth. But still, when the struggle happened that you referred to, I think everybody started getting a sense that whatever they have become in these different places of our continent, there is something they can and should call theirs. And I think that's how people were mobilized to make a contribution, young and old. The old people who contributed to that as much as the young people at the time. People contributing different things, they easily could be able to contribute. So what exactly, I want to make sure that I answer your question properly. What exactly are you looking for?
As the young generation to liberate our country or our continent economically and socially, basically in terms of, and culturally as well. Thank you.
It's really it's the same ideals that happen in different ways. At that time, there was a liberation struggle, an armed struggle. But now, you don't improve the continent by waging an armed struggle against who? I think you wage a different struggle now, and that is the struggle we so much talked about earlier on, and the panelists and everybody. And it is in this topic of what do we stand for, and therefore, once we have identified it, and I hope by now we have identified it, it's a process of how we achieve that, achieve what we want, that self-determination, we want to improve, we want transformation of our country and our society, we want peace and security, we want these freedoms and democratic governance that we are talking about. So how is that going to happen without the participation of the young people? And therefore, the path you choose to make a contribution is really up to you, and still it is towards those same objectives.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Mine is not a question, but it's a wish. I'm called Pacifique Mahirwe, a writer of 3 books who experienced the life in the orphanage. So we have thousands of kids left the orphanage. And those kids have a brighter innovation in their mind, as I started. But the problem they have is where they can learn life different from the orphanage. Why can't you create an creative center where they can have an opportunity of learning, getting an experience, getting a motivational speakers who can tell them about how to leave the stigma from the orphanage and start a new life? Why can't you create that center where all kids can learn from others who have achieved many things? Thank you, Mr. President.
That's what I was going to say. We can we can establish creative centers, not just for orphanages, for orphans. We can create creative centers for every Rwandan child. Maybe what you are talking about is a specific center, but I think there is a process, or there are many ways through which people can learn to be creative, even in schools, other than the center. There have been different innovations coming up from young people, actually including orphans and others. So maybe the question I think you are raising, which you can pay attention to, is how can we keep investing in these creative institutions so that as many young people, including orphans, can actually have access to that. I think that's a fair point. But it's not that we are not doing it. It's actually an issue of making sure we pay more attention to it, make more investments, and make these centers more accessible to as many people as possible. I think we will do that.
Mr. President, could we take 1 or 2 more questions as we wrap up, please?
Sure. It's up to you.
The gentleman here and somebody back there.
Thank you. I'm Timba Serge from KLab, the CEO of Cotoon Limited. I have a comment, His Excellency. When we talk of freedom and democracy, some people think that they have to take their own decision, whether bad decision or good. But we know that you fought against bad decisions that have been taken by former leaders and citizens. His Excellency, till now, people need to take decisions. But there are still people who think that they have freedom to take bad decisions. I can't ask you that you are going to allow them to take bad decisions because I know you can't. But I need to just like recommend my fellow citizens and you, President, to keep transforming our fellows who think that they can use their freedom and democracy to take bad decisions.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
It's a very hard task, but we must do. But it is what we must do. I think if you can't influence people to not make very bad decisions that affect others, then you stop them. You either prevent that happening or you stop it when it happens. So we are still on the prevention side. But it is not just one person or just the government, it's all of us. It's all of you here. Everyone can make a contribution. Yes, to have that good influence so that people don't harm or do harm to others. Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Yes.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Alistair Muhide. And sticking with the theme that we were going with today of what do we stand for, I think one of the things we failed to mention and that we all stand for is change. And unfortunately, during the panel discussions earlier, we weren't able to talk about one of the topics that I was interested in is in e-governance. And I've lived abroad most of my life, so e-governance wasn't something new for me. But coming here in Rwanda, you know, the way government services are provided has long been done manually. But as of recent, there's an e-government platform that was recently launched by the name of Irembo. And I think most of you guys have heard of. But my question is, I just wanted to get your take on what you think of you know, a new way of providing government services to our citizens here in Rwanda. Obviously, our hopes with a platform like that is to improve improve lives of our citizens, but also government efficiency in the way that they deliver services. So again, my question is just what your take is on e-governments in Rwanda.
You know, my take is that it is happening. Yeah, I mean, I think it's as simple as telling you that let's do more of that. So that change you talked about, e-governance is part of it. I think we want to make it real. We want to make sure that that e-governance is good governance and actually makes it more efficient, makes it far better, and I mean, let's all learn to be part of that and support it and also benefit from it. Yes. You want a bonus? Who wants a bonus? One other?
Somebody's already on their feet in the middle. You get the bonus question.
Thank you very much. I'm very lucky to have got the bonus question. I'm not the bonus.
It would rather be a good question. Though.
Yes, yes. Actually, it's very good. So my name is Alex Rujema. I'm the CEO of iStay Connected LLC, and I'm also a product of the Presidential Scholarship. So part of what I stand for, I actually stand for locally developed solutions. And speaking of that, I'm going to be talking, my comment, I'm commenting as a businessman because I'm doing business. So as a Rwandan who has been in Rwanda for a year after coming back,
doing business here, there are some things that I have seen that I would really like to address, so that I'm glad that there are decision makers here and you are in front of me. So part of that is this. So you see, like most of the government tenders that are put out there, these tenders, there come big companies from abroad, China, USA, they take these tenders. We have these young people, we are here. We have the skills, but very little experience, that I know. But if you could enforce a policy whereby these companies, when they come to take these tenders, in their contract, there is a clause where, you put a clause where they are working with at least local companies, so that in 5 years from now, we are also going to have a fair competition on the market. Because when they ask you that you have to come with 5 years of experience, you have to have done this somewhere else, we don't have that. So in order for us to have that experience 5 years from now, in order not to depend from outside companies, to empower the local companies as a businessman.
Sure.
And yeah, so I would
I think it is more complicated than that, but I understand what you are saying.
Yes.
And it's not, it may not be exactly what you are saying. It's not always going to be big companies from outside versus small companies or startups in Rwanda. It's not always either this or that. I mean, as it happens, I think there are these small companies you are talking about that actually get business without necessarily having to suffer under the competition with the big companies. So, but the fair point you are making is we have to bear that in mind in the whole system, so that we actually create room or incentives, if you will, for our small companies like that you're talking about to be able to participate in the marketplace here in Rwanda or even in the region. But at the same time, encouraging fair play and competition to happen. So there are many things we have to think about and not forget that there is a need for such companies to find their place and give them space to grow. It's about growing as well. So I think I get your point, and I'm saying, in fact, in our IT, whether it is IT policy or other considerations for our business people here in Rwanda to find space and grow and expand, that is taken care of. But are we doing everything that needs to be done, and is everybody benefiting? I think not yet. But therefore, the mission is to make sure that we do more in that area. Otherwise, why I'm saying it is much more complex problem than that, sometimes we need these big companies to come. And if you want to have the policy of constraining them or forcing them to do something you want to address, that may create some complications. But you can design a win-win situation, and I think we are already doing well in that direction. So it's not as simple as just saying, you companies, when you come here, must make sure you are with this company and small companies, and that's when you have to be careful, because you want these big companies, and depending on what you place, you put in place, then you may not even have them. They may not come. So you have to be careful to make sure that you do what is going to be good for these big companies to come in and what is also good for the small companies our own here to find their place in the market and to allow them to grow. So you see what I mean? Yes.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
But I can see this one.
There is pressure here in the front.
But make sure it is as good at least as the other one. So.
Yeah. Murakoze cyane nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika. Muranyemerera mvuge mu Kinyarwanda hari impamvu. Nitwa Nibishaka Jean Baptiste bakunda kunyita Yohana Umubatiza. Ndi umunyamakuru wa TV10. Nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, impamvu mpisemo kuvuga mu Kinyarwanda mfite ubutumwa nkora ikiganiro cyitwa amakuru yo muri quartier nzunguruka igihugu cyose. Mu nzira nyuramo hari umwenda ndimo abaturage, reka tujye tubabwiza ukuri. Iyo urebye abaturage bari kuri uyu muhanda uva ahantu bita Pfunda werekeza mu mujyi wa Gisenyi, umuhanda urimo gukorwa uciye za Kayovuga hinguka Karongi, abaturage barishimye cyane kubera uyu muhanda urimo gukorwa. Uvuye Karongi werekeza za Ntendezi, ni umuhanda bisi yagendagamo amasaha hafi 8 cyangwa 10. Ubu turimo turawunyuramo tujya gukora inkuru, abanyamakuru bari hano barabizi. Ni igihe gito cyane. Abaturage rero batubwiye ngo muzadushimire nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, turabyemera twavuga ngo yego tuzabivuga. Ariko ndishimira kuri uyu mugoroba nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika ko nkwiboneye kugira ngo mbikubwire. Kandi n'abaturage nizere ko ubutumwa nzongera nkabashyikiriza nkababwira ko nabivuze.
Okay.
Ikintu kimwe ikindi nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika.
Nanjye nzagufasha mbabwire ko wabimbwiye.
Murakoze cyane. Ikindi nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, kuva mu mwaka wa 2007 abanyamakuru tukora icyo twakita gukoresha imbaraga nyinshi kwigisha urubyiruko kwirinda virusi itera sida, kwirinda gutwita inda zitifujwe. Ni initiative umuntu wayigize mubanze mu mumpera amashyi rwose. Ntabwo yavunikiye ubusa, imbaraga yakoresheje zagize umusaruro ukomeye. Nkaba namusaba Madame Jeannette Kagame ko yakomeza gushyiramo imbaraga, ntabwo muri mu muvunikira ubusa. Murakoze cyane nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika.
Murakoze cyane. Maybe so have a good night.